Um, Glad you all came out. Haven't performed in a little while, but for those of you that don't know, I do something called freestyle spoken word. So basically, it's something like spoken word, but just off the top of my dome, or however you want to put it. Um, and normally I do it with musical accompaniment, um, but I think tonight what I want to do is kind of go back to my roots a little bit and just do regular style spoken word, no music, and then I'm going to have some guests come on and join me for something else for a little part two of that. So anyway, here we go. Man, it's been a while, so I got to get used to the quietness without any music, but truth, do you hear me? Truth is something that we all talk about, something that we all try to discover or find in our own way. I remember being young and believing things as young people do. But listen to me, people. I tell you that young people have their own ways and they have their own ways of looking at things and doing things. But I grew up and I became a man, and so truth has become something different to me. But I suppose if we were to talk about truth a little clearer, do you hear me? I suppose if we were to talk about truth, I think you would have to get down to people on a personal level and then find what it is about all those people that they have in common. I suppose if you were to look at that sort of thing, perhaps maybe you might find something to start with. Do you hear me? I think if we were talking about truth, I think we would have to only go back and talk about our own personal experiences in order to try to find the similarities. But for me, I could say that I did believe in things, and at one point I knew things were concrete. I knew things were the way they were, and that's how they were, and that's all there was to say about it. Do you hear me? And so, furthermore, looking at myself, I once believed in things, but then I suppose there's a certain sort of blur that can go across the glass, and there's a certain sort of blur that can overtake one's vision of one's things that one might want to see, or maybe had once dreamed about seeing, but perhaps today, perhaps now, I do not see. So, furthermore, I can only say that there was a time, but what about now? What about now? What about when things blur together? What about when you've lived so much life that experience all becomes sort of one write-up, one sort of thing, one sort of summation of the things thus experienced so far? So, looking at these things, where am I? Where is the big picture? Does truth really exist, or is it relative as they say? I suppose my mind has been pulled this way and that, and there have been things that I have examined, and who am I to speak, and what sort of platform is this to really establish anything about truth? But I think if you were in a predicament where you wanted something that you needed, I think truth might apply to you. I think that truth might not become a little less relative. I think truth might need to be something in order for you to get somewhere. I think if truth were a boat that you needed to take you across the river, I think truth would have to be very absolute at that point, because truth being what it is, truth by definition is absolute. So I ask you, you may not know where you are, but do you believe in truth?